Our story begins over 2,000 years ago in the Han Dynasty. We find a man who wants to know the meaning of life. Ever since he was born, he had always been thinking, how did I come here? Why did I come here? And where am I going? Is there anything after this life? He had this very strong feeling that there was more to life. And so at an early age, with this strong desire to find the path of immortality, he started to read all kinds of books. These books led him to Taoism. There are many secretive Taoist practices. These practices are a combination of transforming your mental state, your character, often doing some sort of meditation practice, and dabbling in alchemy, in herbs, potions. Now, the Taoist view of what immortality means is that they're going to transform his physical body into what would you call a divine body, an immortal body, a body that is not limited by time and space anymore. So it looks like a physical body, it looks like his same body, but he has transformed it into a body that can fly up to the heavens, dive into the sea. He can live for as long as he wants. He can be in the mortal realm. He can be in the immortal realms. He has this strong desire. I must achieve this. This is my life's goal. That was since he was young. Now, of course, through life, he's born into a normal family. He got some books and he read some stuff and he was learning some potions. He goes through school, he graduates, he gets a good job, he gets a beautiful wife, he gets this great house. And, and he still dabbles with potions and herbs, but he didn't really find anything. He found some interesting stuff. He felt like he had maybe some powers and some magic, but he did not find what he was truly looking for. And then one day, he leaves his house and he starts walking, and he walks out into the forest, and he's looking for herbs, right? He's trying to create this potion. Now, the potion that he had on him was called Magic Mind. It was this great potion that we can actually get today. It has green tea, turmeric, cordyceps, lion's mane. And I tell you what, I've been drinking this for 10 days now. I've been taking this every day, and it's not only delicious, it helps me in my pursuit of magic and my pursuit of focusing and all of this great wisdom that is coming to me. And I think the same can be for you. So after he takes his shot, I better take another shot here. After he takes a Magic Mind, and don't worry now, you can pause the video real quick and go down and get the discount in the code below. You can do that. After you do that, I'll be here. Then you come back. As he's walking through the forest and he's picking herbs and he's making his Magic Mind potion, he sees in the graveyard a woman wearing all white. All white means that person is in mourning. So in the West, when you have a funeral, everybody dresses in black. In China, the people in mourning dress in white. So he knew right from the get-go that this woman is not just visiting a grave. This is a new grave. This is a woman in her 20s. And she's crying. She said, well, my husband got sick all of a sudden and he passed away. But before he passed away, we made a deal. He said, now you have to wait until the soil on my grave is dry before you go out and remarry. And so she said, I'm here waiting for the soil to dry. Now, they lived in a very humid part of China. And he was like, this is going to be weeks before the soil on the grave dries. And he thought, you know what, that's fine. Just give me a second. So he goes into his little herb pouch and he puts some stuff together. He takes out his fan. He puts something on it, and then he goes, whoosh, and they feel this massive gust of super dry wind just come through, whoosh, and it instantly dries the grave. It just poof. And she touches the grave and is like, oh, it's dry. Thank you. Right? She's so excited. She runs off. She actually left all her stuff there. She runs away. And the guy's like, he's pretty happy with himself. He's like, yeah, you see, I know a few tricks, my magic, I got it working. This, everyone was kind of, maybe they were making fun of me, but make fun of me. I know some magic. Look at that. I just did that. That's pretty good. I knew this stuff worked. Maybe I don't quite have the secret to immortality yet, but you know what? I'm getting close. I'm pretty good. And so he's obviously very happy with himself, as he should be, right? He made his magic work. He used it. And he goes back and he tells his wife, he's like, so just this thing that I was out doing, and there's this woman, and the grave was wet, and I did the thing with my fan, and it got all dry, and whatever. I'm just like basically an immortal. I'm not there yet, but I've got a lot of the powers. I can do stuff. And his wife was like, wait. So the woman just wanted to go and like get a boyfriend to get remarried. And he's like, yeah, but it was, I used my powers and I helped her do that. And his wife was like, no, time out here for a second. That's horrible. Right? What a horrible woman. She should just be like waiting for it to dry. That's what she agreed on. Like, and you helped her. You're an enabler. You came in and you dried it all up for her. You with your silly fan, just, yeah. Like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? And, and he's just like, are you kidding me right now? I am a good man. I am an honest man, and I am out helping people with my magic. This is absurd. And he stormed off. His face is all red. He's so angry. He stormed off, slammed the door behind him, goes out to his shed. He had a shed in his backyard where he had all of his herbs and his potions, and that's where he did all his concoctions, because let's be honest, they didn't smell very good, right? He's boiling all kinds of weird geckos or whatever he's boiling. And so she'd never let him do that in the house. So he goes out, and he does. He hangs out there all the time, right? He's always trying to figure out new potions and doing stuff. So he's out there, she hears him kind of slamming around in there, but she's like, whatever, this guy is too much, whatever. Everything kind of calms down for a little bit. But then she hears this explosion. She runs out to the shed and she goes in, she kind of looks in, she sees herbs all over the place and potions all broken and bottles broken. On the ground, she sees her husband lying on the ground. She runs over to him, shakes him like, what happened? Are you okay? He doesn't move. She tries to check for his breath, no breath. Checks for a pulse, nothing. Oh my gosh. What did he do this time? She's like, maybe I came down too hard on him and he just got all upset and he mixed the wrong things together and this explosion happened and that was it. He died. She calls up her family, they all come out and yeah, he's dead. So, what do? Well, you take him to the coffin, you do the funeral, you do the whole thing. And then they put him in the ground. Now she's in white. A few days later, she goes into town. She's doing a little bit of shopping, buying some vegetables. From a distance, there was this guy who noticed her. Now, this guy was a tall man, very good looking, nice clothes. He had like a bag of coins. You could see all the coins just protruding, right? This guy had money, right? This is a guy. And this guy sees this young woman wearing white. And he's, oh, that's odd. I'm gonna go ask her. I'm like, hi, and she was crying a little bit, and he was like, can I help you? Let me get this. Let me help you with your vegetables. And he's like, are you okay? And she's like, and then she just tells him the whole story. She just gushes out. She's just, my husband, and got in this argument, and then he ended up exploding himself. Basically, he did this potion, and then he died from that, and the guy's like, oh, that's too bad. But, it's hard for him to contain his excitement because she was a beautiful young woman. He's like, so not good. Well, you want to know what? I don't know about you, but I'm a little hungry. Should we go get some food? I'll treat you to dinner. And she's like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to eat tonight. And yeah, okay, sure. I would love a meal. He's like, yeah. So he takes her to dinner and then walks her home. And then for the next few days, he kind of keeps showing up at her house. He's bringing her gifts. And, they start talking. And then one day he says to her, he's like, so, how did your husband died from this explosion, from these herbs? It's kind of interesting. I actually dabble a little bit in herbalism and alchemy and potions as well. And she's like, here we go again. Here it is again. He's like, he's like, actually, I think there's something to it. I've found, a lot of benefits from these. And she's like, yeah, my husband used to always say that. He'd always talked about, how he had these powers and how he could do stuff. And I think he did. I think he actually was able to do stuff. He's like, yeah, well, you want to know what? Just the other day, I actually came upon this recipe for a potion. And I have all the ingredients except for one that I'm missing. And this potion is supposed to help you just live a long life. You basically stay young your whole life. And then you're able to have like different abilities. You can maybe levitate, stuff like that. And she's like, really? He's like, yeah, I mean, I knew somebody else who did it and it worked. So I'm trying to create this formula. I don't know if you'd be interested in something like that. She's like, well, yeah, maybe. I mean, my husband never really gave me any of the formulas. He just kind of kept those to himself. So he's like, well, I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about your husband, but I'll share it with you. But there's one thing that's just that last ingredient that I need to get. And she was like, well, what is it? I mean, we can go in the shed. He has a lot of stuff in there. I mean, he's collected stuff for years, ever since he was a kid. He's like, yeah. So this ingredient is actually the brain of somebody who's been like on a Taoist cultivation path for like years and years. Like when you do that and you take all these potions, your brain becomes kind of magical and it has all this wisdom and all this essence stored in it. And so we kind of need a brain of somebody like that. And from what you're telling me, like your husband's brain would be perfect. But, of course, that's ridiculous. We would never do that. That's horrible, right? We would never do that. She's like, yeah, we would never dig up his grave and take his brain out. That's horrible, right? Yeah, that's horrible. We wouldn't do that. And so then the man goes, okay, well, it's getting late. I'm gonna go home. And she goes to bed and she's thinking about it. She's thinking about it all night, thinking, you know what? Maybe. I mean, he's already dead. He's not using his brain. Right? He never let me drink these potions before, and this new guy, he's going to let me have some of these potions. This sounds pretty good. I like this. Okay. You know what? Yeah, maybe. And so when the guy came back the next day, he comes over and, he brings food and some gifts, and she's like, you want to know what? Let's do it. Later that night, they go to the graveyard, right? The guy brings a shovel, he digs it up. They open the casket, they look inside, and they're shocked. Because he's not there, the body's not there. What is there is a sandal. And not just any sandal, it was her husband's sandal. And she's very confused. First of all, where's his body? Did somebody else get this magical recipe and dig his body up and take him away to get his brain? And then they put his sandal in there? Because that's his sandal. He wasn't buried with that sandal. We put like nice shoes on him. Why is this random sandal that he wears all the time in there? I'm so confused. She's so confused. She kind of leans back, leans on the guy, goes to hug him. And then she's like, wait a second. He's like, not as tall anymore. She looks at him and is like, wait, what? She sees her husband, alive and doing quite well, standing right in front of her. And she's just in utter shock. sandal, husband, and where's the new guy? The new guy had transformed into her husband. It was her husband all along. He used the oldest Taoist trick in the book, and this is seen in many stories throughout China, that you take a personal item of somebody, a shoe, a broom, something that they use a lot or have on them a lot, and through some sort of magical formula, you can turn that to look like the person. You can make it look like that person, but they're dead. It's a dead body. Now, traditionally, Taoists would use this when they reached immortality to make it look like, okay, I am dead. Their family thinks they're dead. They mourn them. They're not dead. They have achieved immortality. They go and walk away. And then after a week or two, it goes back to the original object. But since it's in a coffin buried in the ground, nobody's ever the wiser. Now, in this case, he did not achieve immortality, but he did know the trick. He knew the trick and he used the trick. And he also had the trick of being able to transform himself to look like somebody else, to look like a totally different person. Could change his voice, could change everything. He gave the appearance of a totally different person. This is some of the magic that he had learned. So really, during that explosion, what was happening was he was doing a combination of turning his sandal into what appeared to be his corpse and then transforming himself into this new guy. And then the explosion happened, he goes back. The explosion was just for show. None of that even needed an explosion. That was just to get her to come out. He did something else to create the explosion. He goes back and he's hiding behind a tree and watching her. And so he orchestrated the whole thing. He explains this to her. And she has a combination of shock, anger, depression, because she feels she was tricked by him. But at the same time, she realized her moral standard not as high as what she claimed it. And the guy was like, see, I told you, you were coming down on that original woman wearing white who I helped. You were talking about how much better you are than she is and how bad of a person she is. And you're even worse. You're going to dig my body up and take my brain out. That's crazy. What kind of person does that? And she couldn't take it. I mean, the whole thing was just too much for her. So she runs away. She runs back home. He's feeling pretty good about himself. He's like, I told you my magic and I got the stuff and I know all the things. And he's like kind of walking back. He's doing a little bit of dancing. He walks. He's like, that's right. I know. And he's feeling pretty good about himself. He's like, yeah, I'm on the path to immortality. That is right. I am going to make it. He goes back into his house to gloat some more to his wife. But then when he goes in, this time it was for real. She had offed herself. That was it. And he comes in and it's just the whole thing just hits him. And he is just like, I can't anymore. This is too much. In a moment of clarity, he realizes all of these pursuits in the human world are running exactly counter to my original pursuit of immortality. I'm not going to attain immortality. I'm not going to attain enlightenment. Pursuing fame and showing off and, manipulating people. What is this? All of these attachments and these desires have led him to the point that he's at right now. Now I see clearly what I have to do. So he gets a bag, very small bag. He puts some clothes in it, ties it up. He's got one of those sticks, just like, he's ready to walk out. I'm going to go to the mountains. I'm going to find a cave. I'm going to live there. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to make herbs. Maybe if I'm lucky, at someday I will be able to find a master to teach me. I am going to devote myself to the path of enlightenment, the path towards immortality. It's do or die at this point. That is it. As he's leaving, he turns back and he looks at his house and he says, you know what? I'm going to burn my house down. I am going to make it so that I cannot come back. I am fully cutting off everything. He burns his house down, and he just stands there and watches it burn. He watches it burn, and he thinks, the more he thinks about it, the more he's like, this is the right decision. This is going to be my life. This is the true purpose of my life. And the house burns all the way down, and right as he's about to leave, he looks and he sees something in the middle of the house. It was a book. And he thought, that's weird. I mean, I totally burned this. Everything in this house burned. Even some of the metal and all that stuff just melted and totally burned. I mean, he knows how to make a fire. He's got some serious herbs to make a serious fire, right? I mean, this fire is not your normal fire. And he goes over and he picks up this book and he kind of dusts it off. And this is, first off, I've never seen this book. Second, it is pristine. There is nothing wrong with this book at all. And he opens it and he starts to read it and he realizes, wait a second, this is a book of how to become an immortal. How? This was in my house the whole time? What happened? And from behind him appears this old Taoist master. The old Taoist master's name was Li Tieguai. He is one of the 8 immortals of Taoism. He appeared and he said to the man, he said, Zhongli Quan, that is the man's name. Zhongli Quan, I've been watching you for quite some time. I thought that you had potential, but I didn't know. And now that I have seen that you have given up everything in your pursuit of the Tao, in your pursuit of enlightenment, your pursuit to gain immortality, to transcend the human world. Actually, I had that book hidden in your house for years. But now you are ready to truly begin your path towards immortality. I don't know if you will make it, but now you can begin. All right, so if you want to know what happened after that, leave comments below, like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get this video big, and if there's enough interest, we can continue with Zhongli Quan's story. He has a lot more that's going on, even bigger and greater stories. All right, I hope everyone enjoyed. See you next week. 再见.